From the creepy swamps deep in the heart of Cajun country, I welcome you to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite a friend of mine to create a list of 5 of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in, be it movies, books, TVs, toys, or really whatever. Next, we sit down to compare and contrast, dissect and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience. We'll start off with honorable mentions, those selections that just didn't make the Fave 5, and then trade off our choices backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, and finally number 1. All that's left is for you to decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends after all this? You may be asking yourself, hey, who is this guy? Well, I'm a dad, a husband, a son, and a brother, among other things. I'm into Star Trek, Rom the Space Knight, zombies, and cheese, though not necessarily in that order. I'm an avid fan of movies, all kinds of movies, but I'm especially rabid about horror films. I'm also a longtime Trekkie, still going strong. As a Trekkie, I made some close friends, and we travel all around to Star Trek conventions. That made for a lot of windshield time, and a lot of what's your favorite conversations. I hope that this podcast can capture some of that fan fervor we had, but this time with a different guest and a different topic each episode. We'll be discussing everything from alien invasions to zombie attacks, from war movies to musical numbers, Edgar Allan Poe to Stephen King, both literary and adaptations. I can't wait to get started, so please sit back, strap in, and get ready for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Today we have a special episode with my incredibly special guest, my daughter Lilli Ray. Hi Lilli.
Hi.
Welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
Listeners, you might remember that Lilli and I did Fave 5 musical numbers, and it was so much fun that we've decided to do another one.
Yes.
And I would actually like to make this a recurring episode. Ooh, if you'd like. After this, we can choose one and try to do one every month.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Okay,
I'd love
cool.
to do that.
So today, we have chosen a little TV show called The Office.
It's not little.
Yeah, no, it's only 9 seasons. Come on.
201 episodes, you know.
Running from March 24th, 2005 to May 16th, 2013.
Such a small little TV show.
Small little TV show.
No one probably even knows about it.
Probably not. I doubt anybody knows that it's an adaptation of an original BBC series with the same name. Then starring that guy, Ricky Gervais. Yeah, huh? Mm-hmm. So, for you out there who don't know what The Office is, it's a sitcom television series that's kind of a mockumentary style about a company in Scranton, Pennsylvania that sells paper and paper products. And what's that company called?
It's called Dunder Mifflin.
That's right.
Fun fact, at one point, they merged with another company called Sabre. They also sold printers.
Ooh,
so
that's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So the show is set up in an interesting way where it's single camera setups. There's no studio audience. There's no laugh tracks. And it's like someone is making a documentary, which, if I'm not mistaken, comes full circle at the finale because they finally show.
They show the documentary.
Yes. So that's really cool. So there's a lot of names that you out there in the listening audience might recognize. We've got Steve Carell.
Yes.
Rainn Wilson. John Krasinski.
Amazing.
Jenna Fischer. And B.J. Novak.
Yes.
Are all parts of the main cast. And then they've had other people in. One of your favorites, Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
She's
great.
Ed Helms. And then I think James Spader was on it for a while. He came in as a regional manager.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's a great show. It lasted, like we said, for 9 seasons. It ended up winning several awards, including 2 Screen Actor Guild Awards, a Golden Globe for Steve Carell,
Yes.
4 Primetime Emmys, including one for Outstanding Comedy Series back in 2006. So I guess that's, well, for season 1, I guess.
Yeah.
And a Peabody Award.
And a Dundie.
And a Dundie. So what we're going to do today is, if you've watched the show, you know that one of the main characters, John Krasinski's character, Jim, is always pulling pranks on his fellow co-worker, Dwight Schrute, played by Rainn Wilson. And so we decided to count down the favorite pranks that Jim pulls on Dwight.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, same format like we've always done for Fave 5.
Yes.
You can have a couple of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
We're going to start with you because you're the guest.
Thank you.
And we'll go, oh, you're very welcome. Think nothing of it. And then we're going to go back and forth and trade off your honorable mentions, my honorable mentions, and then we'll go down from 5, 4, 3, 2. Once we get down to the bottom, we'll have our number one fave office prank. Yes. So is there anything, any kind of little trivia or anything about the show in itself that you want to throw out before we get started?
Oh, fun fact. I remember this now. Several of the employees at Dunder Mifflin, their actor's first name is the same as the character's first name.
Ah, that's true.
There's Oscar Nunez as Oscar Martinez, Angela Kinsley as Angela Schrute.
Spoiler. Who actually lives around here, if I'm not mistaken, or is from around the Lafayette area.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
There's Phyllis Vance, played by Phyllis Smith, and Creed Bratton, played by Creed Bratton.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So before we dive in, how did you become such a big Office fan?
So I started watching The Office, number one, because my sister, she watched it, and so I thought I should try it. But number two, because our neighbor, Tone Rodriguez, hey, Mr. Tone.
Hey, Tone.
He drew a comic that was shown in, I think, Classy Christmas.
Okay.
The episode where Pam gives Jim a comic about Jim, and the story sets it that she drew it, but in real life, our neighbor drew it. So awesome. I really wanted to see that. Yeah. So I started watching it, and then it was really good. So I kept watching it until after I found it.
That's cool. And you went through the whole series because we watched the finale together with Mom. That's a great one. Hi, Mom.
She doesn't want to say hi.
Why doesn't she want to? She's waving.
She's waving.
Podcast universe can't see you waving. Anyway.
Silly.
All right. Well, now that we've got that all out of the way, let's dive right into our lists. Lilli, honorable mentions, take it away.
My honorable mention is the prank that I have nicknamed Hot Dog Fingers. This is a prank from Season 1, Episode 3, called Healthcare, directed by Ken Whittingham and written by Paul Lieberstein, I think. This is the prank where Jim and Pam get together to make fake diseases or sicknesses for Dwight to cover, such as flesh-eating bacteria, hot dog fingers, and government-created killer nanorobot infection. This episode is hilarious, and these silly diseases add to the fun.
Leprosy, flesh-eating bacteria, hot dog fingers, government-created killer nanorobot infection.
The reason that this is my honorable mention is because I feel like this is more of Pam's prank than Jim's prank. So I don't think it should be on my list because I don't feel like it's Jim Halpert's prank. Right. But Jim was part of it, and I really liked the prank, so I wanted to include it.
Well, okay. So what was he covering when you say Dwight was covering him?
Well, in that episode, Dwight has been tasked with the job of picking a health insurance for Dunder Mifflin.
Okay.
And so he asked that all employees submit diseases or sicknesses that they want covered in this new health insurance because everyone was set about the really bad one that he chose. And so
he's got to cover hot dog fingers for sure.
Hot dog fingers, top priority.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the name of that episode again?
It's Season 1, Episode 3, called Healthcare.
Healthcare. Well, there you go. That's awesome. So that's a great honorable mention.
Yeah.
So I actually have 2 honorable mentions.
Ooh, double the fun.
Double the fun. So the first one comes from Season 5, Episode 7, Customer Survey.
Oh.
You know this episode, don't you?
Yes.
And what's
Very
this?
well.
What's this prank?
This is a prank you can call William M. Buttlicker. When Michael wants to test Dwight to see his customer service and relations. So he gets Jim to come in as a fake customer, and
So they pretend
it's
on the
bonkers.
phone, right?
Yeah, they pretend to be on the phone. And Jim is just...
Jim.
Jim is just Jim. And he comes up with this fake name, a.k.a. William M. Buttlicker. You heard me right, I didn't stutter.
Yep.
Buttlicker.
Say it one more time.
Buttlicker. And the prank is just crazy.
It's really good. And it ends up with Dwight just getting all, just tied up on himself. And Mr. Buttlicker says, I tell you what, Michael, I will place $1 million order, but you have to fire this man.
Yeah.
And I think Michael was actually thinking about it.
Who is this?
Hello, this is Michael Scott, Regional Manager.
Well, this is William M. Buttlicker.
Hello, Mr. Buttlicker. How may we help you?
Michael, I like the sound of your voice. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy $1 million worth of paper products today.
See how it's done? Thank you very much, sir. I don't think you'll regret it. See what I did?
You're the master. There is one condition, Michael.
Yes.
You have to fire the salesman that treated me so terribly. Don't do it, Michael.
It's $1 million sale. But it's $1 million sale.
It's $1 million sale. So that's my honorable mention 2. My honorable mention 1
Okay.
is from season 3, episode 15.
Ooh, okay.
And the episode and the prank are the same name.
Oh.
The episode is Ben Franklin. I don't know why I love this prank so much. So Phyllis is getting married to Bob Vance from Vance Refrigerations.
Yes.
And you have to say it that way because anytime Bob meets anybody, he says...
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
So they're about to get married. So Michael decides that he wants Jim and Dwight to hire strippers for the bachelor and bachelorette party. And so Dwight hires a stripper for the guys.
Yeah.
And Jim hires a Ben Franklin impersonator who comes to the office, and Jim convinces Dwight that he's not a Ben Franklin impersonator.
He is Ben Franklin.
And so Dwight's constantly asking him questions that only Ben Franklin would know, and he knows every one of them.
Yeah. And at the very end, he completely gives up. He's like...
Care for a piece of chocolate?
Chocolate? Where did you acquire it? That is a delicacy in the Amazon, but it has not yet been imported to the United States.
Who is the King of Austria?
Joseph II.
Who is the King of Prussia?
Friedrich Wilhelm III.
Who is the King of England?
Why, the tyrant King George, of course.
I don't care what Jim says. That is not the real Ben Franklin. I am 99% sure.
That's a great one. So I love that one. And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, that's the only one on the list where the prank is actually part of the main idea of the story instead of just being a little cold start or a little toss away thing. So for my list, at least. So with our honorable mentions out of the way, we're ready to chow down on the main list. So Lily, give me your number 5.
My number 5 is the prank performed on Season 2, Episode 21, Conflict Resolution, directed by Charles McDougall and written by Greg Daniels. I have to say it every time. I like to call this prank Dwight Fart Schrute. This is so funny. This is the prank in which Jim gives Dwight a ridiculous security badge. Some of the things he does to the badge is he changes Dwight's middle name from Kurt to Fart. He labeled Dwight a security threat and gave him a huge, at least 4 times the size of the actual badge, a case to put his ID in.
That's awesome.
Dwight is outraged by this and goes to tell on Jim shortly after.
This came out really well. There you go.
This is humongous. I am not a security threat. And my middle name is Kurt, not Fart.
What did I write?
And
It is.
that's a great prank. I remember the huge badge that hung off his shirt.
Yeah.
That was a great
My
one.
middle name is Kurt, not Fart. I am not a security threat. It is.
That's an overall good episode. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, isn't there a point when he goes to complain to Michael, there's like a laundry list of things that Jim had done?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one. Well, I love that one. That's a good choice.
Thank you. Well, what's your number 5?
Well, my number 5 comes from season 3, episode 7, the episode called Branch Closing. And in this one, Jan has informed Michael that Dunder Mifflin has decided to close the Scranton branch and absorb it into Stamford. And so everybody's kind of in a panic and all this. But in the meantime, Jim is telling us how from time to time he likes to send a fax from the office that he's working in,
Drew Stanford.
which is Stamford, to the office at Scranton where Dwight is. Because at this point, he had taken another position in the company
Yes.
to get away. And it's on Dwight's stationery from future Dwight.
I took a box of Dwight's stationery. So from time to time, I send Dwight faxes. From himself. From the future. Dwight, at 8 a.m. today, someone poisons the coffee. Do not drink the coffee. More instructions will follow. Cordially, future Dwight.
And Dwight looks up, and you remember who he sees fixing to drink coffee?
Stanley.
Stanley.
Hudson.
Yeah, he jumps across the office. And knocks the coffee out. I saved your life, basically.
You'll thank me later.
And I don't think Stanley was very happy with that. So I love that one.
Good.
Yeah, it's great. I love Stanley. I think he's a great character, so it's nice to have him inside that one, even as an unwilling participant. So that means I get to hear your number 4.
Well, my number 4 is actually from the finale, season 9, episode 23, known as Gutenpronk.
Yes. I knew this was going to be on your list.
I know. I love it so much. This is the one I'm specifically referring to because there are a bunch in this episode. But the one I'm particularly talking about is the one where Jim tells Dwight that he cannot be his best man.
Right before the ceremony
Right
starts,
before
right?
the wedding.
Yeah.
So Dwight's like, well, what am I going to do? And right then, he turns around, and there's Michael Gary Scott standing in the doorway.
Who we haven't seen for a couple of seasons, right?
Yeah. He left in season, 6 or 7. And it is such a sweet moment, and they're both so happy.
Yeah.
Dwight, I can't be there for you. I'm sorry.
Jim.
I just really wish there was something I could do.
Michael, I can't believe you came. That's what she said.
Yeah, that was a great one. I was fixed to say Dwight gets all the klimped, and he's like, you came!
Can't believe you came. It's so fun.
And that's such a sweet episode, because
Yeah.
it really, you know that Jim and Dwight are really friends.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't spend this much time doing these pranks on somebody you just didn't like. You'd be mean about it. And that's the great thing about, especially the Gutenpronks in the last episode. These are things that you can tell that he puts a lot of thought in because he likes them. You know, that's a great one, Gutenpronk.
Well, what's your number 4?
Well, my number 4 comes from a season 2 episode, which number 11, called The Booze Cruise. That's the one where Michael rents a boat for like an annual motivational cruise, and then they bring too much alcohol, and everybody kind of gets drunk. And
Turns into a booze cruise.
goes into a brew cruise. But that has nothing to do with the prank that I like.
Yeah.
This one takes place when Jim kind of becomes friends with the guy who runs the vending machine. And so while Dwight's not around, Jim takes all of his office supplies off of his desk and out of his drawers, including his wallet, and I think the guy's name is Steve.
Yeah.
Put them all into the machine. And so when Dwight shows up to look for stuff, Jim brings him back there with a couple of other people, if I'm not mistaken, and hands him a bag of nickels so that he can buy his stuff back out of the machine.
Jim?
What's up, buddy?
This is not funny. Why is my stuff in here?
Wow, that's weird. Ooh, $1 for a stapler. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'm not paying for my own stuff. Okay, I know you did this because you're friends with the vending machine guy.
Oh, Steve?
Yeah, Steve.
What do I want? What do I want? Ooh, pencil cup.
Oh, no. That's my pencil cup.
I don't think so. I just bought it.
I think so, and you're going to hand it over to me.
I love these.
Okay, fine. My wallet.
Oh, there it is. J1. Here, you know
I
what?
don't have any.
You get some nickels.
No, he tries to buy his wallet.
Oh, that's right. He has to
so
buy his
he
wallet
can pay
first.
back Pam because
Yes,
she bought his pencil holder.
That's true. See? You're such a trivia master for The Office. And that's why I'm excited to hear your number 3.
Well, my number 3 prank is from the episode Garden Party from, let me see, Season 8, Episode 4.
Okay.
This is the prank where Jim Halpert writes a book under the names James Trickingston. In this particular prank, Dwight is hosting a garden party for Andy. And since Dwight knows close to nothing about garden parties, he turns to a book he found for $2 on how to host these parties.
Right.
Little does he know that this book was written by James Trickingston, a.k.a. James Halpert. Jim makes
I don't remember this episode.
Jim makes up ridiculous rules, including you need to announce guests' names when they enter the party.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan Howard!
Announcing guests as they enter is the height of decorum. The more volume displayed, the more honor is bestowed upon everyone.
Perform a mating ritual / dance.
What?
Yeah, he has to dance with the maid, all like. Yeah. And
How did he do that?
Oh,
yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and
You really should see the dance moves over here. But
I
anyway, I'm
know.
sorry. Please proceed.
he also says you need to recreate the Last Supper painting and perform a ceremonial dance at the end. This dance includes fire sticks
Gosh.
and a big drum. So, it
That
is
is
hilarious
awesome.
to see all these fake rules unfold while Andy is still trying to impress his new boss.
That's awesome.
So funny.
That's very cool. I don't even remember that episode. Now I've got to
Really?
go back and watch it.
It's a great episode.
Yeah. Is that when the garden party is when Andy's thinking about getting married, or?
No, this is when he's trying to impress his new boss, Robert California, the CEO of Sabre.
James Spader.
Yeah,
That's
James
who,
Spader.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robert. Yep. Look at us putting those pieces together. That's a great one. Well, I'm going to slap that one down with my number 3. Again, from season 3. Season 3 had a lot of really good pranks in it, I thought.
Yeah.
Episode 16, Phyllis's Wedding. Do you know the prank I'm talking about?
Think I do.
So in this one, Jim very carefully recreates what's called Pavlov's experiment.
Oh.
Which is based on
so
real
funny.
scientific study, in which he plays the Windows, I think it's the logon sign, and every time he does it, he offers Dwight an Altoid until he conditions Dwight to expect an Altoid every time he hears the sound. And then eventually, he makes the sound and doesn't offer him one. And you remember what happens?
Yeah, Dwight has his hand out, and Jim's like, "What are you doing?" And Dwight's like, "I don't know."
In school, we learned about this scientist who trained dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell by feeding them whenever a bell rang. So for the past couple weeks, I've been conducting a similar experiment. Dwight, one Altoid.
Okay.
Altoid?
Sure.
And Dwight?
Vinpert? Yes.
taste so bad all of a sudden? Oh.
So that's a great, especially because it's based on actual scientific facts, you know. So the real experiment, I don't know if you've read it in school yet.
I think you talked about it once.
Okay, good. All right, so let's hear your number 2.
Well, my number 2 prank is a very simple prank that I have always loved. In this episode called Manager and Salesman, Season 6, Episode 18, it's actually written by Mindy Kaling, who plays Kelly Kapoor.
Right.
It involves the employment status of Jim and Michael, who are sharing a co-manager position, when Joe Bennett, a new CEO, decides that there should only be one manager and a new salesman, or an old salesman returning.
Right.
So, Dwight, at the end, Jim becomes a salesman and Michael becomes the manager, right after Michael begs for the manager position because he thought he would enjoy the salesman more, but he realized he really wants to be manager. So after he becomes manager and Jim becomes a salesman, Dwight starts to grill Jim, like, this is the record low for manager time. And eventually, Jim has had enough of it and just puts Dwight's tie in the coffee mug that he's holding. And Dwight is just in utter shock. He's like,
What?
He was not expecting it.
So just dips it into the coffee like a big old donut.
Coffee. Just like, boop.
That's funny. I don't remember that one either.
Funny.
That's funny that it makes so high on your list for such a simple little thing.
I love the simple pranks because the simplest pranks I find usually have big impacts on Dwight. He's just like, wait, what? It is, but it is so funny just to see him in utter shock. Like, wait.
They were so great together. They really played well off of each other. Yeah.
It was amazing.
The Duncan tie prank.
Ties.
That's great.
Well, what's your number 2?
Oh, my number 2 comes from Season 2, Episode 21, Conflict Resolution.
Oh, which one is it?
I was so worried when you brought yours up earlier that you had this one, but you didn't.
No.
Mine is when Jim had been putting nickels inside of the phone receiver on Dwight's headset. And so over the weeks, he keeps adding more and more nickels to make it heavier and heavier and heavier. And then he comes in and takes them all out. And the next time the phone rings, Dwight bonks himself in the head with the phone.
Yeah.
And that was on the list of things that he complained about to Michael.
Yeah. The only reason I didn't include any of those pranks is because they all sound like really great pranks.
Yeah.
But we don't get to see them happen.
Right. So but this one you do get to see happen. That's why I chose that one. I thought the same thing. You're so smart. I thought the same thing, but they actually do show it. So that's why I chose it for my number 2.
This morning, I knocked myself in the head with the phone.
That actually took a while. I had to put more and more nickels into his handset until I got used to the weight, and then I just took them all out.
Yeah, okay.
So,
that makes sense.
Let's hear what your rundown from honorable mention to number 2 is.
My honorable mention was hot dog fingers.
Good one.
Where Jim made up a bunch of diseases. My number 5 is Dwight Fart Schrute, when Jim makes a ridiculous security badge for Dwight. My number 4 is Guten Pronk, when Michael becomes the best man right before their wedding. My number 3 is James Trickingston from the episode Garden Party, where Jim comes up with ridiculous rules for Dwight to follow for his new garden party. And my number 2 was the simple tie and coffee, nicknamed Duncan Tie by my dad. So, what's your list?
So my list was the William M. Buttlicker role-playing. Then my other honorable mention was the Benjamin Franklin impersonator. And my number 5 was faxes from future Dwight.
Yeah.
Number 4 was Dwight has to buy his office supplies out of a vending machine.
That was...
Number 3 was Jim's Pavlov experiment with Altoid mints. And number 2 was Dwight works out with his phone. So that means we are at our number one all-time best office prank of all times.
Yeah.
I am dying to know what yours is.
My number one Jim Halpert prank is Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
What? This prank has so many layers.
Okay, so this is from season 3, episode 20, called Product Recall. This prank, it's not part of the story. It is just the cold open. But in this prank, basically Jim walks in dressed exactly like Dwight. He has the glasses, the brown tie, the mustard yellow shirt,
the haircut,
the belt, with
beeper.
The beeper.
Yeah.
He has a little watch. And the dialogue on this is
great.
So funny
and so good, so well executed.
Yeah. Insert clip.
Right here. We'll insert the clip.
Right here.
Okay.
Question. What kind of bear is best? That's a ridiculous question. False. Black bear. Well, that's debatable. There are basically two schools of thought. Fact. Bears eat beets. Oh. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Bears do not... What is going on? What are you doing?
Last week, I was in a drugstore, and I saw these glasses. $4. And it only cost me $7 to recreate the rest of the ensemble, and that's a grand total of $11.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year. Michael! Oh, that's funny. Michael!
And Dwight is initially pretty unfazed by this. He's just like, okay, I don't care. Until Jim places a small bobblehead on his desk. And then Dwight breaks. I will recreate his,
Please do.
His reaction. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year. Jim, at that moment, Jim gets up and goes towards Michael's office saying, Michael! Dwight is so mad by this and goes up and walks to Michael's office yelling, Michael! It is just so funny. I love this prank.
That is a great prank.
Yeah.
That is a really great prank, especially the bobblehead. That was like going above and beyond.
He just puts it on his desk, and Dwight is just so mad.
And there's a little segue at the end. How did Jim come up with that costume?
So he found the glasses at a drugstore for $4, and it basically took him, and I'm quoting, $7 to recreate the rest of the ensemble, which comes out to a total of beep, 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 $11.
That's so awesome. That's a great one. So I noticed that you have pranks from all over the series.
Yeah, definitely.
That was really cool. I noticed that a lot of my stuff was from season 2 and season 3.
The early seasons.
Yeah, and I find that interesting. I like the fact that you have that overlook of, the whole series more.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I chose mine from so early, but I could look and see that I did.
Yeah. Well, since I have already declared my number one spot, what is your number one?
Well, as a matter of fact, like we were just talking about, I chose a lot of mine from early in the series.
Yes.
Yet, oddly enough, my number one favorite prank comes from season 9, the very last season. Yes.
Wow.
And you know what it is. It's from episode 3 called Andy's Ancestry. And it was another, I think it was called the Cold Opening.
Yeah, Cold Opening.
Where it has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. But basically, Dwight's at his desk, Pam's at her desk, and here comes a guy. He comes in and he sits down at Jim's desk. The first thing you notice is the man is Asian.
Yeah.
And Dwight automatically sees him and starts questioning him. Well, who are you? And the guy looks at him and says, well, Dwight, it's me. I'm Jim. And so this just throws Dwight for a loop. So he starts questioning him, And Asian Jim has all of the answers. He knows the code to get into his phone. He knows about the sales that he had yesterday. And so Dwight gets really mad. And again, it's identity theft. And we know from yours how he feels about that. And he goes to finally, well, you know what? I know you're not Jim because he picks up the picture. This is Jim.
Jim's at the dentist this morning, and Steve is an actor friend of ours.
I don't know who you are, but you are not Jim. This is Jim.
It's a family picture of him and
It's a family picture of Pam and Jim, except it's Asian Jim. And then the funniest line was, I'm going to put it in right here.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Jim. We've been working together for 12 years. Weird joke, Dwight.
You're not Jim. Jim's not Asian.
You seriously never noticed? Hey, hats off to you for not seeing race.
And the guy is like, that's really cool of you. So I really, really enjoyed that episode as a whole, and especially that thing.
Yeah.
So that was my number one.
Wow. Crazy how both our number ones were both dress-up pranks.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's good insight, girl.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So how many episodes did you watch before you chose your your Fave 5?
Is this just the episodes we watched for research?
Yes, for research.
Probably 5. But just episodes I watched, probably 20.
Oh, wow. So I noticed a lot of YouTube videos that had best pranks. Did you watch those?
I just watched those in my spare time. How I did this was there's a Dunder Mifflin fan page, and they had all of the pranks. So I just went through them, looked at the ones I really liked.
Right.
And then I just numbered it down, and then I went back and watched some of the episodes to see what exactly I wanted to talk about. And then while I was typing it up, I was watching season 6 episode called Lice. You know?
Lice.
I was just watching The Office all the time. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I always
really
enjoy
fun.
it when you come on.
Thank you.
So we have to come up with something for next month. I don't know what it's going to be, whether it's Harry Potter or episodes maybe of The Flash or something. But we're going to come up with a cool one, and we'll let you out there in podcast land know what it's going to be to watch out for it. So we'll put it up on all of the different feeds, so you can go to iTunes or you can go to the AOC media blog, and make sure to check my Twitter. And also you can check us out on Facebook, and then check back because we're going to have a new website soon, and it's going to break all of these episodes down for you, and we'll have some links to some of the best pranks that are around. So thanks a lot for being here, Lilli. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
And thank you out there. And don't forget to make a new favorite every night. Good night.
Good night. Yay, that was fun.